Now, let's get into the main topic of today's presentation, which is about the admissions process. So a lot of you had a lot of good questions, so I hope I will be able to answer most of your questions during this brief explanation. So first of all, I would like to mention that there are 2 rounds of applications. So there is a first round, which starts on November 4th, and you will have to submit your application by December 3rd. And there will be kind of a primary screening where we look at your application. And then if you pass that, you will be interviewed, and the interview will be around February. And then the final decision announcement will be in mid-March. Then we have a second round of applications for some programs. So you can see here, this is the availability of the programs depending on the major. So all programs open applications during the first round, but only some of the programs open application for the second round. So be careful to check that the program you want to apply is available, especially if you apply during the second round. And second round application, like time to submit your application is from January 9th to 29th. Now let's look at the whole kind of flow of the application process. So this example here is for the first round, but the process is the same for the second round, except the months are different. But for simplicity, I will just explain for the first round. So as I mentioned, in November, December, you apply online and submit your application. At this stage, you only have to submit documents online. So you don't have to yet send us like hard copies of your graduation certificates and things like that. You pay a kind of a small application fee, about 5,000 yen. That's maybe $30 or something like that. And then in kind of December, January period, your application documents will be screened by us and the professors. And sometime in January, you will be contacted, or the students who pass the primary screening will be contacted for an online interview. So unfortunately, we cannot interview all applicants, so only kind of a shortlisted few, maybe 30% of the applicants will receive an invitation to the interview. Now, at this stage, we do ask you to submit official hard copies of your application documents. So things like your like English proficiency test results, your transcripts from high schools, your graduation diploma if it's available, or your prospective graduation diploma. So you do need to prepare the hard copies for those documents. But we will, of course, send kind of detailed description and information for the students who are invited to the interview, so you don't have to worry about the details too much. I will talk about the interviews in a few slides, but I really want to emphasize today that actually the really key of getting into Nagoya University is doing well in the interview. So the interviews are a little bit well, they are there to really test your ability. So especially the science and engineering students are asked to solve problems in front of a panel of professors. So if the interview happens online, but I will talk about that again in a few slides. Then if you are lucky enough to be admitted to our program, you get an admission offer. And at the same time, you also get a notification on whether or not you have been granted the G30 or the MEX scholarship. And then we will ask you to pay a registration fee, which is, I think, 235,000 Japanese yen, which is roughly $2,000. And then during the summer, we will kind of stay in touch with you, do some orientation stuff, virtual orientations, and we'll have like a chat for all of the new incoming students. And at the end of September, so actually in 1 week, all of the new students will come to the campus. We will have a 2-week orientation for them, and then the courses themselves start in October. So we follow kind of the Western schedule of academic year in the G30 program. Most Japanese universities have a bit different schedule where you enter in April, but the G30 program only offers October admission. Great. So again, if you have any questions about the admission process, please write them into the chat and my colleagues will reply to you. I will go through the application requirements and I will explain to you what kind of documents you need to submit with your application. So I got quite a few questions about the application requirements, like, what if I'm from this country, is it okay? What if I haven't graduated yet, is it okay? So let me break it down for you. So basically, applicants outside of the Japanese national education system can apply. So it can be an international school in Japan. It can be a national kind of curriculum in any country around the world. It can be an international school in another country. So all of that is okay. Or in some cases, it can be also some kind of like high school equivalency examination, like GED or private A levels. It is also possible to apply with those types of qualifications. What is really important is that you have 12 years of primary and secondary education or some equivalent testing to a 12-year primary secondary education system finished. So some countries, they have an 11-year curriculum. So I think Russia and Uzbekistan, some of the old kind of former Soviet countries have a 11-year educational system. Some of those programs are also okay, but there will be a list on our website where you can, I think there will be a list in the application requirements. You can click and see if your own country is listed by MEXT as having kind of equivalent education to 12 years. But I would say for the large majority of you, basically this means that if you have graduated from like a normal high school in your country, then you are eligible to apply to Nagoya University. Since our program is an English program, we do require you to submit some kind of proof of English proficiency, and we have a minimum requirement to enter the program. I will again show you the details after a few slides for this. And some specific curriculums, especially IB and A level, you are very welcome to apply. We would love to have your application, but for these types of programs, we will ask some additional application documents like predicted scores and things like that with your application. So there is a section in the application guidelines where you can check curriculum by curriculum what is required to submit. So please check that also carefully when you are submitting your application. Now let's break down the documents that you need to submit with your application. So I will give you a kind of a brief explanation, just the basic document, and then I will show from our website and from the application guidelines some of the details and things that you should consider when you're submitting your documents. So for the primary screening, when you submit your documents online as PDFs, these are the documents that you need to submit. So number one, proof of graduation. So this can be either your high school diploma or it can be your prospective high school diploma. So you can apply before you have graduated. Let's say you are in year 11 or you are in year 12, but you have not graduated yet. So in that case, just ask from your school for a prospective graduation diploma. And then we, of course, ask your school transcripts. We ask you to submit at least the past 2 years. Preferably, it's better if you can submit 3 years, but at least the past 2 years. And then there are a few curriculums, specifically IB and A-level, where we ask a few other curriculum-specific documents, predicted scores and things like that. Then we ask you to submit 2 essays. So to apply to Nagoya University, you have to submit kind of a motivational essay, why you want to apply to Nagoya University. And then each year there's a changing question, kind of program-specific question, where you kind of show your knowledge and motivation to enter that specific program. Then again, your English examination results. So things like TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo are accepted proof of your English ability. Now, if you have studied in English in your high school, then you are exempt from submitting this kind of like English proficiency test scores. So if you have done, if your education has been in English for the past 3 years, including your kind of graduation year in high school, then you are exempt from submitting these 3. Now, some of you might think, oh, this is much like the list of qualifications for English examination is much shorter than last year. And this is true because we kind of simplified our application guidelines. They used to be a bit too complicated, and we were listing all sorts of different English examinations that can be submitted for proof. So basically, if you don't have one of these 3, but you were looking at the last year's application guidelines, and let's say you have IGCSE English grade A, then you are still this year allowed to submit those scores based on last year's application requirements. But from next year, we will only accept these 3. So I'm sorry if that sounds complicated, but there's kind of a transition period which gives you the benefit of submitting the scores that you have prepared for this year. So even though the rules change a little bit, don't be too worried about it. But for us and for the admissions office, we would prefer if you stick to this year's regulations and submit one of these 3 English proficiency scores. Another thing we a little bit relaxed this year is the requirement for recommendation letters. So we ask you to submit, or in previous years, we have asked you to submit 2 recommendation letters from your high school teachers. But in past years, some of the high school teachers somehow forget or they didn't make it to the deadline. So to make the process a bit less stressful for the students, we now require only 1 mandatory recommendation letter, and then the second recommendation letter is optional but really strongly recommended. So even though it says 1 to 2 here, then if you really want to enter Nagoya University, then I really recommend you ask 2 of your high school teachers for recommendation letters. And the important thing is that the recommendation letters must come from somebody in your high school. So we do not accept any other types of recommendation letters, things like your professor in the university or like your employee or things like that are not accepted as your recommendees. Then just a few more documents, standardized test results. So this again, recommended but not mandatory. We know that not all countries do standardized testing like SATs examinations. But if you can take some kind of standardized test like SAT or EJU or AP or things like that, then that will make your application stronger. So especially science and engineering subjects, the professors do like to see SAT scores, and good SAT scores will really make it easier for you to get a spot in the interview round. Then if you want to apply for the scholarship, we ask you to submit a scholarship application form as well as your parents' income statement. And then finally, some of you were asking about, what about extracurricular activities? Will that make my application stronger? And the answer is absolutely. We really recommend you to submit documents showing other strengths. That is optional, but especially if you have done any program-related activities, then that will be helpful. So if you have participated in some kind of a program-related project or competition, or you have done an internship already somewhere, then that is really helpful. Especially programs like to see things like math Olympics or physics Olympics, things that really show your dedication to the subject will make your application stronger. So let me think. Yes. So like next in the explanation, I would like to kind of show you the website through which you apply, as well as show you the application guidelines. And like this year, we have really worked hard to make the whole application process feel more manageable and make it easier for you to understand what documents are needed and what steps are required. So let me show you just a moment. I will show you the first, maybe the application page itself. So here you can see this is the G30 website, admissions, undergraduate programs. You click here and hopefully you will find the instructions here kind of helpful. So you go down here, and here you can find the admission requirements. So this is kind of your Bible for entering Nagoya University. So it is if you click there, just a moment. Yeah, I wasn't sharing my screen properly. Yes. So yes, if you click here, then you will see this is the admissions guidelines. So this is a document I want all of you to read very carefully. You know, it's kind of long, but it explains in detail everything you need to know about the application process. So there are details about the eligibility. So if you didn't kind of fall in the categories I just explained to you, you can read here exactly what is accepted by our program. There is also kind of a helpful step-by-step guide okay, these are the steps you need to take when you are applying to the university. And I think a really helpful tool that we have for this year added to our application guidelines is this checklist of when you are submitting your application online, then what you need to make sure when you submit your application. So let me just go over this document a little bit. So I want all of you to, I think it's, you are all online based, but if I were you, I would print this out. And for each document I'm submitting to this online application system, by the way, which is here. So if you click here, then this is the online application system. It will open on November 4th. So it is not yet open. You cannot yet apply. But yeah. So we ask you to fill out an online application form in the online system. Here there is the certificate of graduation. That's the document I just explained to you. And here you have additional check boxes of what the document must have. So your certificate of graduation must include the school's seal or signature and must include the prospective graduation year or month. And if you click here, you will find kind of a template which you can submit to your school. If you just fill this out, then this is a document that we will accept. Then academic transcripts, again, I mentioned this, but here you can see what must be included. So again, there must be your school seal or signature. We have to make sure that all the documents that you submit are official. So please make sure that you fulfill all of these tick boxes here. Curriculum-specific application documents. So I mentioned IB and A-level. So you can check here in this list appendix here. You can see, for example, IB program, documents that are mandatory to submit, optional but recommended documents, as well as recommended program-specific subjects. So some of you ask what kind of courses I should take in high school to enter a certain program. Here you can find the answer to that question. There is a similar list to the British A-level system. Mandatory, optional, recommended documents, as well as the US system. Here we recommend you submit SAT scores, but it's not mandatory. And then finally, there's one documents for other curriculums, so basically other national curriculums. So those students have to submit last 2 years of transcripts, as well as the high school qualifications. So your predicted high school diploma or your high school diploma. This year, we are not asking all different types of curriculum to submit kind of country-specific final examination documents. But if you have documents like, for example, Indian students might have taken the CBSEX, I mean 10 test, or Singaporean students might have taken the O-level students, Chinese students might have taken the Gaokao students. So if you have taken any type of standardized national examination, like one of these or some other test like this, please submit it. It is recommended. It is not mandatory, but it's strongly recommended, and it will make your application stronger. So that's kind of a little change to last year. Last year, these kind of documents were mandatory, but it became a bit complicated. So this year we are making it kind of strongly recommended. Now, so yes, I a little bit mentioned the English proficiency test scores. So if you click here or if you click here on the website, you can find kind of the examinations that we accept this year, as well as the minimum scores. So you have to have a score higher than one of these scores listed here to apply for the program. Again, standardized exam scores, SATs, recommended 2 essays. Yes. So just read each of these checkboxes here and make sure that you fulfill the requirements for the documents. For the reference letters, I wanted to mention that they must come directly from your referee, and they should be signed or stamped or sent from your kind of your teacher's official email address. So we do not accept recommendation letters that are sent by the student or that are sent from a kind of non-official domain like Gmail without signature or stamp. So we have to have some way of making sure that this is coming from your teacher actually. So there's a section in the online application system where you can fill in the information of your referee, and the online application system will directly contact your referees to ask them to submit a reference letter. Yeah. So I hope this will be helpful for you, and we will see more kind of complete application documents. Now, the second tip I have for you is that don't forget about secondary screening. So a lot of times we talk a lot about the documents that you need to submit during the primary screening and the deadlines for that and things like that. But as I mentioned before, the key of entering Nagoya University is not to submit your application, it's to do well in the interview. So especially the science and engineering interview is quite a hurdle for a lot of students, and you need to practice in advance. So like humanities interview is about 30 minutes. It's more like a conversation and why you want to apply to Nagoya University and questions about your application and what you want to do in Japan after you enter the program. So it's more like a kind of a regular interview that you might imagine. But the science and engineering interviews are more like oral examinations. So as I mentioned, you are required to solve program-related questions during the interview. So you might be just given this kind of question during the interview, and then the professor will say, please solve it in Zoom in front of the panel of professors. You have to just use pen and paper. You cannot use calculator or anything like that. And you have to show with your camera while you're doing the calculations, so they know that it's you who is solving the questions. And yeah, if you can solve this properly, then you might have a chance to enter the program. But if not, it will be difficult to enter. And the questions will depend on the program. So automotive engineering and physics programs, they will ask mathematics and physics questions. It's going to be high school level, but on the upper end of high school level. And for chemistry, it's like mathematics and biology maybe, and chemistry, of course. And biology, it will be also biology, chemistry, and mathematics questions with an emphasis on biology and mathematics. So on our website, if you scan here or you go to the application site, which I just showed you, there is a course on pre-college level mathematics. So there is a series of 15 lectures about the types of topics that might be asked from you during the interview. Now, if you are applying to biology or chemistry, the questions will not be as difficult. So don't panic if it looks a little bit difficult. For physics and automotive engineering students, I think this is somehow the level you should be at when you're applying. Great. So as I mentioned, a lot of the questions can be answered if you carefully read our information on the website. I think my colleagues have been replying to a lot of your questions, but I am also happy to answer any questions you might have now. I think it's 3 p.m. in Japanese time, so if some of you need to leave, you have something else, feel free. But also, I am happy to answer any questions you might have. So you can just raise your hand or open your mic. I can see Fuong is, oh, sorry. Fuong is, go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?